Well, welcome to Easy Fix, and the new topic today is the contactor. Again, if you have any questions, make sure to put your questions below, and I will provide the answers as the time comes. For right now, let's get into it and let's give a little explanation on the contactor. Now, if that's your first time working with one of these, or if you were doing a job and you thought this was the problem, well, I'm going to get into it right now. There are several types of contactors, and one of them actually has a control device on here that receives the power. It's attached on the side, and one of the main reasons that you have these grooves here is actually to attach some of those. I will actually get into those on a separate video, but for now, let me tell you a little about these contactors. And actually, there are different kinds. So you have the 3 connection ones, and you have shorter ones that only have 2 connections. And these connections are marked as L1, L2, and L3. Well, on this particular one. And then at the bottom, you have T1, T2, T3. The reason you have 3 is because these types of contactors are mainly for 3-phase connections, 3-phase motors and stuff like that. Then you have the single phase, which would have 2-pole and 2 connections mainly. Now the difference between the L1 and the T, L1 and L2, basically the L means that's your input power, and the T is the output power to your device or equipment or whatever it is that you're working on. Now, when you connect your power into the input, which is the L1, L2, L3, you will not get any power on the other end until the contactor is activated. One of the main ways of finding out that you have a problem with the contactor, you're gonna keep hearing this noise. So a lot of vibration, which is telling you that the contactor is not engaging. So that's one of the main problems. Now, the other thing that you might want to do is check the winding on the contactor, and by doing that, you will know if there's a problem with it using a voltage meter. Always make sure that you put your voltage meter on this symbol here for continuity. Then test your pins. By doing this, you'll hear a little sound, and go ahead and test your winding. Now, I have 169 ohm reading, which is telling me that my contactor is actually in pretty good condition. So now, the winding itself, you cannot just put 120 volts into that winding, or you might end up damaging the contactor. Now, every specific contactor is for either 120 volt device or a 220 device. And that same power has to be your input as well as the output. And then you have your information for the coil. And as you can see, you can actually see that section right there. Coil, 120 volts. Now, your coil is your winding right here. That's what activates your contactor. Now, the coil itself can either be 14 volts, 24 volts, depending on the device that you're working. It's powered by very small voltage. It could be 120, even 220. Okay, but you have to make sure that you actually, if you're replacing one of them, make sure you have the right information of the contactor that you're replacing, and replace it with the same type. So that covers most of it. One of the other things that you can do while testing the contactor, as you turn on the machine and you see that nothing's working, you can actually test for continuity to see if the power's flowing through. Then you can also use a sensing power detector. They're made of plastic. Let me actually show you one here. You can use one of these and test for power. Make sure the power's coming in the wires, and of course on the output only if the contactor is activated. And but anyway, this is the way you actually test to see if it's engaging. Now if you see this engaged, you want to make sure that the power's flowing through. So if you get a beeping sound, then it's actually working and your problem is something else. But that pretty much covers it. These type of contactors are used on hydraulic equipment machines, pressing machines, Hobart machines, which are mixers for bakeries, bakery ovens, the bread proofers, meat slicing, meat cuttings, meat grinders, all kinds of different machines, big machines. Most of the big machines will have one of these. So it's very important to actually know how to test these and replace them with the right specs, and that'll be that. I hope you like the explanation on how I went through this. If you have any comments, leave them below. I'll be glad to answer, and as your request, maybe doing better. I'll try to provide as best information as I can. So I'll see you on the next video.